It's going to be nice, though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I want to do, and not have to sit and I love talking to all of you, but it's going to be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone, multiple times a week. I really appreciate all of you, but it will be nice to kind of get away and relax for a little bit.
Watch how happy Caitlin Clark is after fleeing the toxic world as the WNBA goes crazy over her confirmed enormous contract in Europe.
I keep getting notification in people commenting under my shorts videos that Caitlin Clark's gone. She's left the WNBA. What is going on? I don't believe that.
The league is in such a panic that they have even fired Christie from the Indiana Fever because what began as a rumor has become a bitter reality.
Christie Side's time as the coach of the Indiana Fever is very likely coming to an end. It looks like they are trying to completely
Caitlin is not required to stay at all. However, what are the details of her recent agreement with Europe? The chaos is genuine, and it feels like everything is collapsing. Let's look at her Nike deal with the WNBA, its future, and the course of the legal processes.
There are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season.
Does she have the build to play in the WNBA?
It was clear right away that the WNBA should concentrate solely on constructing its future around Caitlin Clark. They have, nevertheless, succeeded in creating a major mess. They are really terrified that they will lose the league's revenue stream now that Clark is departing for Europe.
She's just not built for the physicality of this league. Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality.
In case you're wondering why, let's discuss Caitlin's first season. To describe the WNBA tantrum breakdown as amazing would be an understatement. She was not only talented, she was captivating. She was shooting three-pointers from a different time zone. Her judicial vision was absurd. Additionally, the arenas were crowded with fans.
People are tuning in. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not tuned in 1 second since Caitlin Clark was eliminated, but that's not unusual for
smashing TV numbers. Whether the WNBA was ready for it or not, Caitlin Clark was in full force when she took them into the spotlight and offered them much-needed exposure. However, she wasn't merely a beginner. She was the one with the capacity to elevate the league to new levels. And they took no action to placate her.
But yes, she will have a target on her back as well.
The story changed behind the scenes. Without a question, Clark was boosting WNBA viewing. But instead of getting the respect she merits, veterans came to the court every night to witness her egregious performance, and she was essentially pummeled. As if they didn't realize she was their lucky charm, the league sat there enjoying popcorn and watched everything happen until, oops, she was gone.
She's been box office, she was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her. It was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with.
Caitlin is packing up and heading to Europe because she's had enough, where she'll probably be treated like the basketball princess she is. The WNBA, meantime, is in a panic, wondering how they're going to keep people interested. Mark, an ESPN question, is acting as if they have any control over the matter while throwing a fit. They don't. Spoiler alert.
Get called for some technical fouls. She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark...
Caitlin is packing up and heading to Europe because she's had enough, where she'll probably be treated like the basketball princess she is. The WNBA, meantime, is in a panic, wondering how they're going to keep people interested. Mark, an ESPN question, is acting as if they have any control over the matter while throwing a fit. They don't. Spoiler alert.
I keep getting notification in people commenting under my shorts videos that Caitlin Clark's gone. She's left the WNBA. What is going on? I don't believe that.
Additionally, ESPN is frantic because guess what? The league was left scratching their heads and wondering what went wrong when all of the viewers they were banking on to boost their ratings suddenly disappeared. The straightforward truth is that they are now paying the price for their lack of regard for Caitlin Clark. Clark's choice to relocate to Europe is not only a win for her, but it also serves as a wake-up call for ESPN and the WNBA, who ignore her and now have nothing better to do than express their displeasure. When they are left behind by the athlete who will mold their destiny.
Your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
ESPN was living the good life when Caitlin Clark burst into the WNBA scene. She was clearly more than simply any newbie. Instead, she became a game share as soon as she stepped onto the court. ESPN made every effort to position Caitlin Clark as the next great thing in women's basketball because they saw a plethora of new followers willing to follow in Caitlin Clark's footsteps and dollar signs for future headlines. And you know what? It was successful. Clark has instant games. As Blockbuster's audience numbers skyrocketed and ESPN rode that wave like it was the only show in town, she was their golden ticket, and they enjoyed every second of it.
Those guys, they're the racists when really y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
But we can't ignore Chelsea Carter's tiny antics, which are timeless, as she almost blinded Clark after poking her eye. There was neither a real punishment nor an ejection during the playoff game. The WNBA's Informal Tuesday seemed to convey the idea that Caitlin Clark's season was open and that nobody was stepping in to halt it.
Michael Jordan of the WNBA was assaulted, has a black eye during the second half of the game because Dejanay Carrington stabbed her with her fingernails in the eye. Play I believe it's, side 11. Could we just play this on a loop? I'm not exaggerating.
Clark was also the victim of 177% of the NBA's flagrant fouls during her first campaign.
Give it some time to sink in.
Not only that, but she was singled out more than anyone else. She was basically a magnet for cheap shots, and the Chicago Sky were responsible for 80% of those fouls.
And then all of a sudden your hand turns downwards and straight into the eye of the biggest star in the WNBA. It's not a natural act. And I called it out yesterday in real time watching the game. Like, hey, that was on purpose. That was not an accident.
Carter was just getting started with his shoulder check. Players from Diamond to Shields went one step further and ran her over in a fit of rage during a game where the score wasn't even close. ESPN carried on as usual, exploiting Clark's notoriety as she was being battered, but she remained silent, didn't criticize the league, and didn't ask for extra safety.
There was also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against Caitlin Clark. Now, this one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant fouls.
Additionally, there were even worse dynamics in the dressing room. A star could not flourish in such kind of setting. Furthermore, Clark had to contend with more than just insects and on-court aggression. In addition, she had to cope with a poisonous atmosphere in the league itself, where veterans tried all in their power to push her out since they saw her as a novice who didn't deserve the attention she was getting. They now viewed Clark as a liability who threatened the status quo rather than as someone who could improve the league as a whole.
Let her cook. Y'all stop being petty. Stop being catty, because she like a double-edged sword. She cutting tail left and right, and it's bothering y'all.
It's remarkable that the WNBA didn't see Clark's value until it was too late. They had a player who outperforms icons like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird in terms of effect as well as skill. Despite being game icons, neither player received the same amount of recognition or money as Clark during her rookie campaign. However, she was able to depart since the WNBA did not take adequate precautions to keep her safe. And they now deal with the consequences.
Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted and nothing.
Since Clark's departure, ESPN has gone into full meltdown mode. Without the one athlete that was drawing all of the spectators before her declaration, they're struggling to maintain their audience figures. ESPN knows they're having trouble attracting and retaining viewers. However, the WNBA is running out of strategies without Clark. Clark's WNBA games were very close to a draw. Even worse, ESPN knows that they could have done more. They could have used their massive platform to demand better officiating and harsher sanctions for the players pursuing Clark and to criticize the WNBA for letting their biggest star get thrashed night after night. Instead, they sat back, heightened the drama, and kept counting the viewers as they picked up the pieces, now wishing they had acted while they had the chance.
Every time you play rookies, you just want to fucking kill them.
I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. It's unacceptable, honestly. We've been professional throughout the whole entire thing.
And Clark.
Due to internal politics and small-scale rivalries, the NBA allowed Caitlin Clark to leave, despite the fact that she was their golden goose and the player who could have guided them into a new age of prosperity. They will be impacted for a very long time as they attempt to figure out what went wrong, but it's clear that they let their finest player go without a fight.